you're destroying your own success constantly through self-sabotage, undermining every opportunity before it materializes, watching yourself repeat destructive patterns while knowing they're wrong, feeling powerless to stop behaviors that ruin everything good, achieving nothing close to your potential because you sabotage yourself before success arrives, and losing everything achievable because self-sabotage operates automatically, destroying opportunities that conscious effort creates, making success impossible. This self-sabotage is systematically destroying your potential by ensuring you undermine every opportunity, destroying your relationships by making you push away people who care, destroying your career by causing you to quit or fail just before breakthrough, destroying your health through self-destructive behaviors, and destroying your future by guaranteeing that unconscious self-sabotage prevents everything your conscious self wants, while continuing patterns that guarantee failure. Stopping self-sabotage is not about willpower or positive thinking, but understanding why you sabotage and systematically dismantling those patterns. Not about never making mistakes, but recognizing self-destructive behaviors and stopping them. A not mysterious process, but systematic approach anyone can implement. This audiobook teaches self-sabotage elimination through the psychology, revealing why people sabotage themselves, the patterns showing how self-sabotage operates, the recognition methods that catch sabotage before it destroys, the interventions that stop destructive behaviors, and the systems preventing self-sabotage from recurring. Stop destroying your own success and start supporting yourself. Stop undermining opportunities and start capitalizing on them. Recognize self-sabotage patterns, understand their origins, interrupt destructive behaviors, build self-supporting habits, and stop sabotaging yourself through commitment, starting now. Chapter 1. Recognize your self-sabotage patterns and triggers clearly. Recognizing your self-sabotage patterns and triggers clearly enables stopping them, because you cannot change what you don't see. The recognition principle demonstrates that self-sabotage operates unconsciously until recognized, that patterns repeat until awareness breaks them, that triggers activate sabotage automatically, that identifying patterns is stopping prerequisite, and that recognition transforms unconscious automatic into conscious stoppable. Most people continue sabotaging through not recognizing their destructive patterns, being unaware of sabotage triggers, not seeing how they undermine themselves, operating on autopilot repeating patterns, and missing that awareness is transformation foundation. Unconscious patterns repeat endlessly. Recognition enables change. Observe clearly or sabotage continues. Research demonstrates that recognizing patterns is behavior change prerequisite, that self-awareness enables pattern interruption, that identifying triggers prevents automatic sabotage, that people who recognize patterns can stop them while unaware people repeat endlessly, and that pattern recognition is self-sabotage solution foundation. The pattern identification practice involves observing when and how you sabotaged, noting recurring self-destructive behaviors, recognizing sabotage themes, tracking what precedes sabotage, and treating observation as change catalyst. The common sabotage patterns include quitting just before success arrives, pushing away supportive people who care about you, procrastinating on important opportunities, choosing obviously wrong options repeatedly, creating drama that destroys good situations, sabotaging relationships when they get close, undermining career advancement when approaching promotion, and treating identification as stopping opportunity. The trigger recognition means identifying what activates sabotage, noting situations preceding self-destruction, recognizing emotional states triggering sabotage like anxiety or feeling undeserving, understanding environmental triggers, and treating trigger awareness as prevention tool. The success sabotage pattern shows recognizing when approaching success triggers sabotage, noting fear of success manifestations, identifying how you undermine achievements, understanding success avoidance mechanisms, recognizing that visibility feels threatening, and treating recognition as pattern breaker. The relationship sabotage recognition involves noting when you push people away, recognizing intimacy avoidance patterns, identifying how you create relationship problems, observing patterns destroying connections, understanding how closeness triggers sabotage, and treating awareness as relationship protection. The self-observation practice means watching your behavior objectively, noting patterns without judgment, tracking when sabotage occurs, identifying what preceded destructive choices, maintaining awareness of your actions, and treating observation as first intervention step. The journaling for awareness involves writing about behaviors and patterns, documenting when sabotage occurs, noting what you are feeling before sabotaging, tracking circumstances surrounding self-destruction, using written records to identify patterns, and treating documentation as awareness tool. The pattern themes identification shows recognizing common elements across sabotage instances, noting whether you sabotage in specific areas, identifying if particular emotions precede destruction, recognizing situational patterns, and treating theme recognition as deeper understanding. The timing recognition means noting when in processes you sabotage, identifying if you sabotage at specific points, recognizing whether you self-destruct when approaching goals, understanding timing patterns, and treating timing awareness as prediction tool. The external feedback consideration involves asking trusted others what patterns they observe, listening to feedback about your behaviors, considering others' observations of your sabotage, using external perspective for awareness, and treating feedback as additional recognition source. The resistance recognition shows noticing when you resist seeing patterns, identifying denial about sabotage, recognizing rationalization of destructive behaviors, understanding when you defend sabotage, and treating resistance as information about patterns you most need to see. The subtle sabotage identification involves recognizing less obvious self-destruction, noting passive sabotage like not trying, identifying sabotage disguised as other things, catching subtle undermining, and treating subtlety awareness as comprehensive recognition. The implementation requires systematically observing your behaviors for self-sabotage patterns, noting when and how you undermine yourself, identifying triggers that activate destructive behaviors, recognizing themes across sabotage instances, tracking what precedes self-destructive choices, journaling to increase awareness, asking for external feedback, becoming aware of unconscious patterns, and treating recognition as fundamental first step, making change possible where unconscious patterns, guaranteed endless repetition, unconscious patterns repeat endlessly. Recognition enables change. Observe clearly or sabotage continues. You understand now that awareness is change foundation, that unconscious patterns repeat automatically, that recognition transforms automatic into stoppable, that identifying triggers prevents activation, and that Chapter 1 provides awareness, making stopping possible where unconsciousness made endless repetition inevitable. Chapter 2. Understand why you sabotage, revealing root causes. Understanding why you sabotage by revealing root causes enables stopping because addressing underlying reasons prevents pattern recurrence. The causation principle demonstrates that self-sabotage has specific psychological origins, that understanding why enables lasting change, that surface solutions fail without addressing causes, that root causes drive repeated patterns, and that cause understanding is permanent solution foundation. Most people continue sabotaging through treating symptoms, not causes, not understanding why they self-destruct, addressing behaviors without addressing origins, lacking insight into sabotage motivations, and missing that why understanding enables real change. Surface solutions fail. Root causes drive patterns. Understand why, or repeat endlessly. Research demonstrates that understanding sabotage causes enables lasting change, that addressing root issues prevents recurrence, that insight into origins facilitates healing, that people who understand why can stop while those treating symptoms relapse, and that causation understanding is behavior change foundation. The common causes exploration shows fear of success driving sabotage, fear of failure causing avoidance, unworthiness, beliefs creating self-destruction, early programming establishing patterns, trauma responses manifesting as sabotage, and treating understanding as healing path. The fear of success recognition involves understanding that success feels threatening, recognizing visibility anxiety, identifying imposter syndrome, manifestations where you feel like fraud, noting success equals danger beliefs, understanding that achievement brings responsibilities you fear, and treating fear identification as resolution opportunity. The fear of failure understanding means recognizing how failure fear creates sabotage, understanding that avoiding risk prevents failure and success, identifying perfectionism as failure avoidance mechanism, noting how fear causes quitting before failing, understanding that sabotaging is controlling failure timing, and treating understanding as fear dismantling. The unworthiness beliefs identification shows recognizing deep beliefs of not deserving success, understanding how unworthiness drives self-destruction, identifying negative self-concepts, noting how beliefs create self-fulfilling prophecies, recognizing that you sabotaged because you don't believe you deserve good things, and treating belief awareness as transformation catalyst. The early programming examination involves understanding how childhood experiences create patterns, recognizing family messages about success like achievement being dangerous or success being bad, identifying internalized limiting beliefs from upbringing, noting how early experiences shape current sabotage, understanding that childhood conclusions drive adult behaviors, and treating exploration as healing foundation. The trauma response recognition means understanding how trauma manifests as sabotage, recognizing protective mechanisms turn destructive, identifying how past pain creates current patterns, noting trauma-driven behaviors, understanding that sabotage may have protected you once, and treating recognition as trauma healing path. The secondary gains awareness shows recognizing what sabotage provides you, understanding benefits of self-destruction, like avoiding responsibility, identifying what sabotage accomplishes, noting how patterns serve you, and treating awareness as motivation, understanding. The safety in failure understanding involves recognizing that failure feels safer than success, understanding that staying small feels comfortable, identifying how success feels exposing, noting that failure is familiar territory, and treating recognition as safety reframe opportunity. The control through sabotage recognition means understanding that sabotaging gives sense of control, recognizing that creating your own failure feels better than having success taken away, identifying control motivations, and treating awareness as control need addressing. The family loyalty exploration shows recognizing unconscious loyalty to family patterns, understanding that succeeding may feel like betraying family, identifying success as separation from origins, noting loyalty mechanisms, and treating recognition as loyalty examination opportunity. The protection mechanism understanding involves recognizing that sabotage protected you historically, understanding that patterns served purpose once, identifying original protective function, noting when protection became prison, and treating understanding as compassionate pattern release. The implementation requires exploring why you sabotage yourself deeply, identifying specific fears driving destruction, recognizing unworthiness beliefs, examining early programming and experiences, understanding trauma responses, identifying secondary gains, recognizing safety in failure, understanding control motivations, examining family loyalty, appreciating original protective function, addressing root causes not just symptoms, and treating cause understanding as lasting change foundation, making permanent stopping possible where symptom treatment guaranteed relapse. Surface solutions fail. Root causes drive patterns. Understand why or repeat endlessly. You understand now that sabotage has specific psychological origins, that understanding why enables real change, that addressing roots prevents recurrence, that insight facilitates healing, and that Chapter 2 provides understanding, making lasting transformation possible, where surface treatment made temporary improvement followed by relapse inevitable. Chapter 3. Interrupt self-sabotage in real time before damage occurs. Interrupting self-sabotage in real time before damage occurs prevents destruction because catching patterns early stops them. The interruption principle demonstrates that early intervention prevents damage, that real-time recognition enables stopping, that interrupting before completion prevents consequences, that pattern breaking requires active intervention, and that interruption skill is self-sabotage solution. Most people continue sabotaging through not catching patterns until after damage, lacking real-time awareness, not intervening when recognizing sabotage, watching themselves destruct without stopping, and missing that intervention is change mechanism. Passive observation allows damage. Active interruption prevents destruction. Intervene or watch yourself sabotage. Research demonstrates that real-time intervention prevents consequences, that early pattern interruption is most effective, that people who interrupt sabotage stop it, while those who don't watch it complete, that intervention skill improves with practice, and that real-time stopping is self-sabotage mastery. The awareness practice involves maintaining real-time self-awareness, monitoring for sabotage signs, catching destructive impulses early, recognizing patterns as they begin, noticing when triggers activate, and treating awareness as intervention foundation. The intervention techniques include pause between impulse and action, questioning destructive urges, redirecting to constructive alternatives, using predetermined interruption strategies, physically changing environment to break pattern, and treating intervention as practiced skill. The impulse recognition means identifying self-sabotage urges as they arise, recognizing destructive impulses in the moment, catching sabotage thinking, noting when patterns activate, feeling the urge to self-destruct, and treating recognition as stopping opportunity. The pause practice shows creating gap between urge and action, using pause to choose response, preventing automatic sabotage, building pause habit through practice, stopping before acting on destructive impulse, and treating pause as pattern breaker. The questioning technique involves asking why you want to sabotage right now, questioning the destructive urge, examining what the impulse accomplishes, challenging automatic patterns, interrogating sabotage motivation, and treating questions as intervention. The alternative action involves having constructive alternatives ready, redirecting destructive energy, choosing opposite of sabotage impulse, using replacement behaviors prepared in advance, acting constructively instead of destructively, and treating alternatives as intervention tools. The urge surfing practice means riding out destructive urges without acting, understanding that impulses peak and pass, waiting for sabotage urge to diminish, not acting on every impulse, and treating surfing as non-action intervention. The environmental change shows physically moving to different location, changing your immediate environment, removing yourself from triggering situation, using physical movement as pattern interrupt, and treating environment change as intervention tool. The accountability activation involves contacting accountability partner when tempted to sabotage, using external support for intervention, reaching out before acting destructively, and treating accountability as real-time intervention. The cost visualization means imagining consequences of sabotage, visualizing damage that will result, considering what you'll lose, making costs vivid and real, and treating visualization as deterrent. The future self consultation involves asking what your future self would want, considering tomorrow's perspective, thinking about longer-term consequences, consulting wise self, and treating future perspective as intervention. The physical intervention techniques show using physical actions to interrupt, like snapping rubber band, changing posture, deep breathing, physical movement, and treating physical as pattern interrupt. The script interruption involves having prepared statements to tell yourself, using predetermined self-talk, reciting intervention phrases, employing rehearsed responses, and treating scripts as intervention tools. The success visualization means immediately visualizing success instead of sabotage, imagining constructive outcome, focusing on positive possibility, redirecting mental imagery, and treating positive visualization as alternative focus. The implementation requires maintaining real-time awareness for sabotage signs, recognizing destructive impulses as they arise, pausing between impulse and action immediately, questioning sabotage urges, choosing constructive alternatives, using intervention techniques practiced in advance, physically interrupting patterns, contacting support if needed, visualizing costs and success, and treating real-time interruption as fundamental skill-making, stopping possible where passive observation made. Damage inevitable. Passive observation allows damage. Active interruption prevents destruction. Intervene or watch yourself sabotage. You understand now that early intervention prevents damage, that real-time recognition enables stopping, that pause creates choice, that intervention is practiced skill, and that Chapter 3 provides techniques making stopping possible where passive watching made destruction inevitable. Chapter 4. Replace self-destructive behaviors with self-supporting ones. Replacing self-destructive behaviors with self-supporting ones creates lasting change because elimination alone leaves void that old patterns fill. The replacement principle demonstrates that removing destructive without adding constructive fails, that replacement is more effective than elimination alone, that new behaviors must serve same needs differently, that building positive is more sustainable than only stopping negative, and that replacement creates lasting transformation. Most people continue sabotaging through only trying to stop destructive without building constructive, leaving void that old patterns fill, not developing alternatives, focusing on elimination not replacement, and missing that replacement is sustainable change method. Elimination alone fails. Replacement creates lasting change. Build constructive or return to destructive. Research demonstrates that replacement is more effective than elimination. that building new patterns while removing old works best, that having alternatives prevents relapse, that people who replace succeed while those who only eliminate fail eventually, and that replacement is behavior change gold standard. The alternative identification involves determining what needs sabotage serves, finding constructive ways to meet those needs, developing healthy replacement behaviors, creating positive patterns, identifying what functions sabotage performs, and treating replacement as transformation method. The needs recognition means understanding what self-sabotage provides you, identifying what destructive behaviors accomplish, recognizing needs driving sabotage like need for control or safety, finding alternative ways to meet legitimate needs, and treating needs awareness as replacement foundation. The constructive habit building shows developing specific positive behaviors, practicing self-supporting actions daily, building habits that serve you, creating patterns, enabling success, establishing routines, replacing destructive ones, and treating habit formation as sabotage prevention. The opposite action practice involves doing opposite of sabotage impulse, choosing self-supporting when urged to destruct, building habit of constructive response, practicing opposite consistently, moving toward when wanting to withdraw, and treating opposite as pattern transformer. The self-supporting behavior examples include reaching out to supportive people instead of isolating, taking action on opportunities instead of procrastinating, staying in relationships instead of fleeing, continuing efforts instead of quitting, celebrating success instead of undermining it, and treating examples as replacement templates. The gradual replacement means starting with small behavior changes, building momentum through wins, expanding constructive patterns progressively, reducing destructive gradually, not expecting instant transformation, and treating gradual as sustainable. The skill development involves learning new capabilities, building competence in self-supporting behaviors, practicing replacement actions, developing proficiency, and treating skill building as replacement enabler. The reward system creation shows establishing rewards for self-supporting behaviors, celebrating constructive choices, making replacement behaviors satisfying, using positive reinforcement, and treating rewards as replacement motivation. The identity shift practice means viewing yourself as someone who supports not sabotages, changing self-concept, building identity as self-supporting person, seeing yourself differently, and treating identity as behavior driver. The environmental restructuring involves changing environment to support new behaviors, making constructive easy and destructive difficult, designing surroundings for replacement success, and treating environment as replacement support. The social support building shows surrounding yourself with self-supporting people, building relationships encouraging constructive behaviors, avoiding relationships reinforcing sabotage, and treating social environment as replacement enabler. The tracking and celebrating means measuring replacement behavior frequency, tracking constructive choices, celebrating each instance, building evidence of change, and treating tracking as motivation and reinforcement. The relapse plan creation involves anticipating setbacks, having plan for returning to replacement behaviors, not letting single destructive instance become full relapse, treating setbacks as temporary, and maintaining replacement commitment. The implementation requires identifying what needs self-sabotage serves, developing constructive alternatives meeting those needs, practicing self-supporting behaviors daily, building positive habit patterns, doing opposite of destructive impulses, starting with small changes, celebrating replacement successes, changing identity and environment, building supportive relationships, tracking progress, having relapse prevention plan, using replacement, not just elimination, and treating replacement as fundamental transformation method, creating lasting change where elimination alone guaranteed eventual relapse to familiar destructive patterns. Elimination alone fails. Replacement creates lasting change. Build constructive or return to destructive. You understand now that replacement is more effective than elimination, that new behaviors must serve needs, that building positive sustains change, that gradual replacement works, and that Chapter 4 provides method-making, lasting transformation possible where elimination alone made temporary improvement, followed by inevitable return to sabotage. Chapter 5. Build self-worth foundation, preventing sabotage at source. Building self-worth foundation prevents sabotage at source because worthiness eliminates need to self-destruct. The self-worth principle demonstrates that low self-worth drives most sabotage. that building worthiness prevents destructive patterns, that addressing worth prevents need to sabotage, that self-worth is prevention, not just treatment, and that worth building is root solution. Most people continue sabotaging through not addressing underlying unworthiness, treating symptoms while ignoring worth issues, not building self-worth foundation, operating from low worth baseline, and missing that worth building prevents sabotage. Low worth drives sabotage. Building worthiness prevents destruction. Develop worth or continue sabotaging. Research demonstrates that self-worth predicts self-sabotage inversely, that building worthiness reduces destructive patterns dramatically, that addressing worth is most effective intervention, that people with healthy self-worth rarely sabotage, and that worth building is prevention foundation. The worth assessment involves honestly evaluating current self-worth, identifying worth deficits, recognizing unworthiness manifestations, understanding worth issues, rating where you are, and treating assessment as building foundation. The worth-building practices include challenging negative self-beliefs, proving capability through action, celebrating achievements appropriately, practicing self-compassion consistently, treating yourself with kindness, and treating worth-building as daily practice. The belief challenging means identifying limiting beliefs about worth, questioning unworthiness thoughts, replacing negative with realistic, building evidence of capability, disputing false beliefs, and treating belief work as worth foundation. The evidence building involves collecting proof of your worth, documenting accomplishments, noting capabilities, recognizing strengths, building case for worthiness, and treating evidence as worth foundation. The achievement of recognition involves noting accomplishments deliberately, celebrating successes appropriately, building worth through wins, recognizing capability, appreciating progress, and treating recognition as worth builder. The self-compassion practice shows treating yourself with kindness, ending harsh self-judgment, accepting imperfection, being supportive to yourself, speaking to yourself as you would support a friend, and treating compassion as worth foundation. The self-criticism elimination means stopping constant self-attack, recognizing harsh internal voice, challenging critical thoughts, replacing criticism with compassion, and treating elimination as worth protection. The comparison reduction involves stopping constant comparison to others, recognizing comparison as worth destroyer, focusing on own journey, appreciating unique path, and treating comparison reduction as worth protection. The standards adjustment shows setting realistic, not impossible standards, recognizing perfectionism as worth destroyer, accepting good enough, lowering unrealistic expectations, and treating realistic standards as worth enabler. The strengths focus means identifying and appreciating strengths, focusing on capabilities, not deficits, building on what you do well, recognizing talents, and treating strengths focus as worth builder. The self-acceptance practice involves accepting yourself as you are, recognizing that worth is inherent, not earned, understanding you're worthy regardless of achievement, embracing imperfection, and treating acceptance as worth foundation. The positive self-talk involves changing internal dialogue, speaking supportively to yourself, using encouraging language, eliminating degrading self-talk, and treating positive talk as worth practice. The boundary setting shows establishing boundaries, protecting worth, saying no to worth-destroying situations, protecting yourself, standing up for yourself, and treating boundaries as worth protection. The therapy consideration means seeking professional help for deep worth issues, working with therapists on worth building, addressing trauma affecting worth, getting support, and treating therapy as worth investment. The worth affirmations involve using specific affirmations about worth, repeating worth-affirming statements, believing in your value, practicing affirmations daily, and treating affirmations as worth reinforcement. The implementation requires assessing current self-worth honestly, identifying worth deficits, driving sabotage, challenging unworthiness beliefs systematically, building evidence of worth through achievement, recognition, practicing self-compassion daily, eliminating harsh self-criticism, celebrating successes appropriately, accepting yourself, using positive self-talk, setting protective boundaries, considering therapy for deep work, and treating worth-building as fundamental prevention making. Sabotage unnecessary where unworthiness made self-destruction inevitable and continuous. Low worth drives sabotage. Building worthiness prevents destruction. Develop worth, or continue sabotaging. You understand now that self-worth is sabotage prevention foundation, that building worthiness eliminates need to self-destruct, that addressing worth prevents patterns, that worth building is root solution, and that Chapter 5 provides foundation making, self-support, natural wear, unworthiness made self-sabotage inevitable. Chapter 6. Create external systems preventing sabotage automatically creating external systems. Preventing sabotage automatically adds structural protection because systems work when willpower fails. The systems principle demonstrates that relying on willpower alone fails, that external systems prevent sabotage automatically, that structure compensates for impulse, that systems work consistently, and that external protection is sabotage prevention multiplier. Most people continue sabotaging through relying only on willpower, not creating protective systems, lacking structure preventing sabotage, depending on motivation alone, and missing that systems multiply success. Willpower alone fails. Systems prevent automatically build structure or rely on failing willpower. Research demonstrates that systems are more reliable than willpower, that external structure prevents self-sabotage, that people with protective systems sabotage less, that automated prevention works better than constant vigilance, and that systems thinking is self-sabotage prevention tool. The system types include accountability partnerships, commitment devices, environmental design, automated processes, decision architecture, and treating systems as protection layers. The accountability creation involves establishing accountability partnerships with others, reporting to others regularly, creating social consequences for sabotage, using external accountability, scheduling regular check-ins, and treating accountability as sabotage prevention. The accountability partner selection means choosing someone who will hold you accountable, selecting person you respect, finding someone who cares about your success, establishing clear accountability agreements, and treating selection as important choice. The commitment devices mean creating systems making sabotage difficult, using irreversible commitments when appropriate, designing exit costs, building commitment structures, making destructive choices expensive, and treating devices as protection. The commitment examples include publicly announcing goals, making financial commitments, establishing penalties for sabotage, creating contracts, and treating commitments as binding. The environment design shows structuring environment to prevent sabotage, removing sabotage triggers from surroundings, making destructive difficult and constructive easy, using environmental defaults, designing physical space for success, and treating design as automatic prevention. The environmental examples include removing temptations, creating spaces supporting goals, eliminating triggers, designing default behaviors, and treating environment as silent partner. The automation practice involves automating protective behaviors, removing decisions enabling sabotage, creating automatic systems, building structure requiring no willpower, setting up automatic processes, and treating automation as sabotage defense. The automation examples include automatic savings preventing spending sabotage, scheduled commitments preventing avoidance, automatic reminders, preset decisions, and treating automation as willpower bypass. The decision architecture means designing choices to favor constructive making default option, self-supporting, structuring decisions for success, and treating architecture as protection. The friction addition shows adding friction to destructive behaviors, making sabotage require extra steps, creating obstacles to self-destruction, and treating friction as deterrent. The friction removal involves removing friction from constructive behaviors, making self-supporting actions easy, eliminating obstacles to positive choices, and treating ease as enabler. The social system design means structuring social environment for support, choosing supportive people, avoiding sabotaging enabling relationships, building encouraging social circle, and treating social as system. The tracking systems creation involves establishing measurement systems, creating tracking mechanisms, building feedback loops, monitoring progress automatically, and treating tracking as accountability. The reward systems building shows creating automatic rewards for self-supporting behaviors, establishing incentive structures, building reward into systems, and treating rewards as motivation. The emergency protocols involve establishing systems for sabotage moments, creating intervention protocols, having emergency contacts, building safety plans, and treating protocols as protection. The implementation requires creating accountability partnerships for regular check-ins, designing commitment devices, making sabotage costly, structuring environment to prevent sabotage automatically, automating protective behaviors, removing decisions, enabling sabotage, adding friction to destructive and removing it from constructive, building supportive social systems, creating tracking and reward systems, establishing emergency protocols, and treating external systems as fundamental. Protection, multiplying success where relying only on willpower guaranteed eventual sabotage. Willpower alone fails. Systems prevent automatically, build structure or rely on failing willpower. You understand now that systems are more reliable than willpower, that external structure prevents sabotage, that automation works when motivation fails, that designing environment and decisions multiplies success, and that Chapter 6 provides structure making prevention automatic where willpower alone made eventual failure inevitable. Chapter 7. Maintain vigilance and continuous improvement, preventing relapse. Maintaining vigilance and continuous improvement prevents relapse because self-sabotage patterns return without ongoing attention. The maintenance principle demonstrates that stopping sabotage once is insufficient, that patterns return without vigilance, that continuous improvement prevents backsliding, that maintenance is permanent, not temporary, and that ongoing work is lasting freedom requirement. Most people relapse through stopping vigilance after initial success, not maintaining awareness, letting guard down, treating stopping as one-time achievement, and missing that maintenance is permanent requirement. One-time stopping fails. Permanent vigilance prevents relapse. Maintain awareness or patterns return. Research demonstrates that relapse is common without maintenance, that ongoing vigilance prevents pattern return, that continuous improvement sustains gains, that people who maintain awareness stay free, while those who don't relapse, and that maintenance mindset is lasting change foundation. The ongoing awareness involves maintaining self-observation permanently, watching for sabotage signs always, never assuming patterns are gone forever, treating vigilance as lifestyle, not phase, staying alert to triggers, and understanding that maintenance never ends. The relapse recognition means identifying early warning signs, catching backsliding quickly, recognizing when patterns return, intervening at first sign, not waiting until full relapse, and treating early recognition as prevention. The warning signs identification shows knowing your specific relapse indicators, recognizing when starting to slip, noting early signs of sabotage return, catching subtle backsliding, and treating signs as intervention triggers. The pattern evolution understanding shows recognizing that sabotage adapts and changes forms, watching for new sabotage manifestations, understanding that patterns evolve, staying aware of adaptations, anticipating how sabotage might return differently, and treating evolution awareness as protection. The continuous learning involves learning from close calls, refining understanding continuously, improving strategies over time, treating setbacks as learning opportunities, studying what works and doesn't, and using continuous improvement. The strategy refinement means updating approaches based on experience, improving techniques over time, adapting methods as needed, learning what prevents your specific sabotage best, and treating refinement as ongoing practice. The support maintenance means maintaining accountability systems long-term, keeping supportive connections, not isolating when successful, continuing therapy or support groups, staying connected, and treating support as ongoing need, not temporary tool. The complacency danger recognition involves understanding that success breeds complacency, recognizing when letting guard down, noting when assuming patterns are gone, catching false sense of security, and treating complacency as relapse risk. The stress awareness shows recognizing that stress increases sabotage risk, understanding that difficult times activate patterns, staying extra vigilant during stress, having stress management strategies, and treating stress as vulnerability period. The life transition vigilance means being extra aware during major changes, recognizing that transitions activate sabotage, watching for patterns during new situations, maintaining awareness during change, and treating transitions as high-risk periods. The celebration without complacency involves celebrating progress while maintaining vigilance, appreciating success without letting guard down, balancing acknowledgement with awareness, and treating success as milestone, not destination. The regular review practice shows scheduling regular self-assessment, reviewing patterns periodically, checking for subtle sabotage, maintaining formal review times, and treating review as maintenance tool. The accountability continuation means continuing accountability even after success, not stopping check-ins, maintaining partnerships long-term, keeping external accountability active, and treating accountability as permanent practice. The growth mindset maintenance involves viewing stopping sabotage as ongoing practice, understanding that perfection is impossible, accepting occasional slips without full relapse, learning continuously, and treating maintenance as journey, not destination. The self-compassion during setbacks shows treating slips with kindness, not harsh judgment, not catastrophizing temporary backsliding, returning to practices quickly, learning from setbacks, and treating compassion as relapse prevention. The implementation requires maintaining permanent vigilance for sabotage patterns, recognizing that stopping once is insufficient, watching for relapse signs continuously, catching backsliding early, understanding pattern evolution, learning continuously from experience, refining strategies based on results, maintaining support systems indefinitely, recognizing complacency, danger, staying extra aware during stress and transitions, conducting regular reviews, continuing accountability, maintaining growth mindset, treating setbacks with compassion, and treating ongoing maintenance as fundamental requirement, making lasting freedom possible where assuming patterns were gone guaranteed eventual devastating relapse. You have learned how to stop sabotaging yourself. Recognize your self-sabotage patterns and triggers clearly. Understand why you sabotage, revealing root causes. Interrupt self-sabotage in real time before damage occurs. Replace self-destructive behaviors with self-supporting ones. Build self-worth foundation, preventing sabotage at source. Create external systems preventing sabotage automatically. Maintain vigilance and continuous improvement preventing relapse. What matters now is implementing self-sabotage elimination starting immediately. 5 implementation priorities. Observe your patterns systematically. Understand why you sabotage. Interrupt destructive impulses. Build self-worth foundation. Create protective systems. Execute these consistently. Stop undermining yourself and transform your life. Stop destroying your own success and start supporting yourself. Stop undermining opportunities and start capitalizing on them. Recognize self-sabotage patterns, understand their origins. Interrupt destructive behaviors, build self-supporting habits, and stop sabotaging yourself through commitment, starting now.